Welcome, everyone. And today we are going to talk about hobbies and why trying on a new hobby from time to time actually can contribute to positive mental health, which I love, and help you to design exactly what you want in your next chapter. And we're going to take a look at a couple of my favorites, outside the box favorites. Welcome, everyone. I'm Sharri Harmel, your host for the Extraordinary Women podcast show. And this is the show for women who are 40 plus, who are ready to design a next chapter that is purposeful, joyful, and focused on the things that are most important to you at this point of your life. Well, why have hobbies? There are a number of reasons. Hobbies fuel us. They bring a lightness to our lives that, nothing else really does sometimes because they comfort us, they calm us, they make us laugh, hopefully, and they might even provide community. Plus, hobbies have no attachment to achievement. You don't have to be the best at any of your hobbies. In fact, you can just love it. I'm terrible at most of my hobbies, if you want to know the truth, but I enjoy spending time on whatever that hobby is, and that's what's most important. Hobbies can also give us ideas of maybe a little business that we want to start. So, for example, you all know I love flower arranging. Even though I do not have a green thumb, I do not have a garden. I live in Paris and Boston. In both places, I do not have a garden. But I go on garden tours. A few weeks ago, I shared it's under the solo travel podcast episode. And in that particular episode, I talked about a trip I had taken with Sharon Santoni. Sharon Santoni runs and owns My French Country Home. And Sharon does the most incredible tours. This is the second one I went on to Provence, where we got to see all kinds of gardens, dipper hunting, that sort of thing. But also, there was a special focus on flower arranging, which I absolutely loved. Just another example, years and years ago, I took my daughter to Vancouver, British Columbia, and we went to see the Bouchard Gardens, which are incredible. So if any of you are garden lovers, that is something you must put on your bucket list. All you Canadians have probably already seen it. Vancouver is a very fun city to visit as well. There's all kinds of things to do besides the gardens, but it's beautiful. But there's gardens everywhere. There's gardens in your little neighborhood. Just a few weeks ago, I was in Paris, but in Boston, there was the Hidden Gardens of Beacon Hill. And it's a little garden tour, one-day tour. These are fun things, and they're all over the place. And I don't care what city it is, there's little garden tours. And if there isn't one in your city, you need to create one. How fun would that be? Next on my list is the Chelsea Garden Show in England. I have just never been, and it's something that I absolutely want to do. But okay, so what do you do with how do you turn something like the love of flower arranging into a business? Well, it might be that you do some pro bono work and then you morph into offering your services in whatever capacity you want, but it might be just flower arranging for dinner parties, for special events that people are hosting, something like that. Maybe you want to keep it manageable. You could go big or you could keep it manageable. It might be that you don't want to do a business at all, but you want to create some kind of community. Flowers are just incredible because they're something that makes, I think, everybody happy. Why not join a garden club? Even if you have a black thumb like I do, if you love flowers, a garden club might be your peeps, as I call it, or a segment of your life. It might be that you create a neighborhood event and you bring someone in, some sort of an expert, to do a sample of flower arranging, or you bring somebody in that can talk about, say, holiday decorating using flowers. The neighborhood group, as an example, might also say, let's make some various bouquets for some of the women's shelters, the Ronald McDonald houses, that sort of thing that are often forgotten. The women's shelters, especially, they're so tight on money. And if flowers can bring a bit of calm, happy comfort to you, that that's what it would bring to other women. So there's all kinds of different things that you can do with that particular hobby. And that's true of just about everything. Hobbies really are something that can grow, no pun intended, into something that adds a major component into your next chapter life. There are lots of hobbies, as you all know. I'm not going to talk about the pickleballs of the world, the mahjongs, the bridge, that sort of thing. You all know way more about those hobbies than I do, trust me. So I'm going to talk about or show you actually a few of those kind of out of the box hobbies that I have grown to love. And a couple of them I actually got from another YouTuber. So it's kind of fun. Okay, the first one, and I'm hoping I can make sure the camera is right. It's called the Legacy Journal, and hopefully it's showing in the right way. The Legacy Journal is a journal. They make lots of them. I think I did that upside down. Legacy Journal. There we go. Now it's not upside down. I can't believe I did that. But anyways, inside the journal, it's called a generational story. You can get it in gray or in cream. All of these out of the box hobbies are down in the show notes, just so you know that you don't have to necessarily try to figure out how to find them based on the video. They're down in the show notes. But the Legacy Journal is just really interesting. So many of why I liked it actually was because of the questions. Here as an example, what was high school like for you? Did you enjoy it? Tell me about the clothes, the music, and activities that were popular. What do you miss most about the good old days? There's all kinds some of it is about me, some of it is about the adventures that you took. Describe for me your perfect day. What 3 words would you use to describe yourself? Each prompt really gives you the opportunity to share aspects of your life that I know you would love to have had, the opportunity to read of your own parents or your own grandparents. And that gives you a chance to really share your inner thoughts, your inner feelings, even experiences with your children and your grandchildren long after you're gone, maybe even great-grandchildren. I would love to read some of these from my grandparents or great-grandparents. I think that would just be fascinating. But even if it's never read by anyone but you, writing in it actually will give you a life view, a perspective of your own life, which we rarely ever pause to do. So I think it can be fun, whether you're thinking about who might read it after you or you do this just for yourself. Now, there are many kinds of legacy journals. You can go on Amazon and see a ton of them. This one is actually sold on Etsy. And I like it because it's a small business that sells the book. And I really like the questions that they have. I think they're beautiful. I don't know about you, but my friends often talk about how their grandkids and even their adult children seem very uninterested in who we are as people, who we were when we were younger. And we never get those questions about our lives that we wish they would ask sometimes. Well, they're busy. They're just plain busy, and they get on with their lives just like we did when we were that age. So this is a way for you to feel as though there's a part of you that's being left behind, that might be really interesting. Writing in the Legacy Journal helps me to feel that I'm not just that doer. I'm not just the babysitter, the afternoon cook, the source of gifts, or even the source of an inheritance. I'm the person who was once a girl who once had big dreams. And, writing in this Legacy Journal might have someone who cares about you have the opportunity to step into the life you once lived. It's very cool. So the next one is a little bit different. It's all about strength in our hands, basically our fingers, and spirituality. And I'm going to talk about this because I don't know about you, but my hands, as we get older, they get arthritis or they get weak, whatever it is, but my hands aren't as strong as they used to be. And I find that when I'm writing longhand in a journal, my hands get tired. And then on top of it, my handwriting has gone totally down. And I think part of it is just the strength, keeping up the strength in my hands. Our hands are no different than our bodies, and we have to keep, doing strength training in order to stay strong. This is a little journal that another YouTuber recommended. It's called the Devotional Coloring Book. And I like it because it's really two things at one time. So as an example, on one side, you can see that it's got a whole devotional section, and it's non-denominational. So don't think that it's Catholic, Lutheran, even Christian for that matter, because it's all over the place. Your higher power is your higher power. So this particular one is called the Star of Wonder, and it's all about, where have you ever wondered? So there's this whole section that you can read before or after you actually start the coloring. And this one, I think it's very insightful. Honestly, have you ever wondered what it's like where the stars live? Not the celebrity kind of stars, but the celestial sort, those curious gleaming beams of light we see shining through the darkness of night. And then over on this side is something that you can color with pencils. You can see I just started this one, and they're pretty detailed. So you can get as detailed as you want. What I think is neat about it, now you could use markers. Markers have a whole different feel. I'm using pencils because pencils are very smooth on this paper, and you don't want to tire your hands. You want to strengthen your hands. And so that's why I went this direction of pencils. This is this is available on Amazon. And again, there are all kinds of coloring books. I thought this, and there's all kinds of devotional books. I just thought this was an interesting combination and something that you can bring on the airplane. It's spiral bound, so it doesn't fall apart. It's easy to color, very fun. So anyways, that's down in the show notes also. I can't think, let's see. Oh, the next one I had, for those of you who are Agatha Christie fans, like I am, Mrs. Marple especially, this next hobby, if we want to call it that, could be really fun. Or those of you that like programs like Blue Bloods and Chicago and that sort of thing, where you're actually solving cases. Let's see, let me pull it over here because I want you to see this whole thing because it's really fascinating. As I drop it. Okay, it comes in an envelope and you can actually, I can't remember, it's down in the show notes as to where you can get this, but they're actually unsolved case files. This one you can see is a homicide. It's got the victim's name, which is so fun, and then the case number, and it comes as though it's a real case, unsolved case files. I think that is really fascinating. And then it's got like the seal date, whatnot. Okay, so what is in this envelope? But now I have to share, you could do this in a group. You could do it with your grandkids. You could do it by yourself. You don't necessarily need a crowd. And but what's fun is it comes just like this, which is pretty interesting. You get this file like it's an official police file. It's even got the little tab at the top. It's hysterical. And then inside, there's evidence. Gosh, we got to have evidence. There's a picture of the victim, and then all kinds of information. And it leads you through particular steps. So for instance, there's these extra envelopes that say bonus envelope A, do not open until after completing objective number 1. Don't you love this? So it really takes you through the process of solving the mystery, solving in this case, it's a murder. And I think it's something that's really fascinating from the standpoint that it gets your mind going, gets your mind thinking. And I'm going to try it with my granddaughters who are totally into this. So anyways, that's down in the show notes also, but it's called Unsolved Case Files.com is the actual name. So I thought you would enjoy that. The next thing that I wanted to share with you is letters. I have become a letter nut, a letter writing nut. So building up your hand strength is of value if you want to start to write letters. And I think it's interesting. We have our own letters, and I have to say, I have gotten completely hooked on wax seals on the back of letters, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, the wax comes many different ways, and you can purchase it on Amazon. You can purchase it. You saw when I did the Beaumarchais video, shopping at Beaumarchais, that there were all of these kinds of wax sticks. If you do the little chips, you end up using something like this, and you can buy these all on Amazon or anywhere pretty much. And it's really great to have a little tea light, and that allows you to warm the wax, and then you pour the wax onto whatever the surface is that you're actually sealing. These are a little bit different, and I will do that today so that you have an idea. You need matches, which honest to goodness is hard to find today. So you light it, and it will actually drip. The sticks will actually drip. And I think you'll be able to see this. Yeah, see it starting to drip? What you're wanting to do is to melt the wax and have it drip on the seal. And sometimes it's trial and error. Some people are really good at this, and people like me are not so good at it, but they still love to do it. So it's whatever the size of your stamp and how much wax you really want to leave out. And you can always cut some of the wax away if you so wish. Whoops, mine just went out. So I'm going to relight. And like I said, this is trial and error. So there's no perfect way to do this. I might light my tea light just to have this go at the same time. I think the little pieces are actually easier because, as you can see, my flame keeps going out, which is really interesting. I'm going to show you the other way in just a second. I love green. You can do multiple colors. Oh, I know. I want to introduce you to a woman who has a company by the name of Catherine Hastings and Co. She is an artist, calligrapher, just does beautiful, beautiful classes on how to do these wax seals. I think she was highlighted in Victoria magazine. And I'm sorry my head is cut off, but I wanted you to see the wax. Because there's so many different ways to do this, to do the wax. Okay, I'm going to blow this one out. And now I'm going to take my stamp and I'm going to stamp in. And you want to sit there and let it cool for a little bit before you remove your stamp. And here's what it looks like. Now you can see it's not perfection. My stamp has the initials. As you can see, the initials, my initials. I have another one that's just got a big S. These are like collector's items. Truly, you can go anywhere and find them. Here's one that's just an actual twirl of some kind. All different colors. I used a green, as you can see. But what's cool about Catherine Hastings Comp & Co. is that she teaches you how to actually put in multiple colors. If you look at hers, you just will not believe them. They are works of art. You can also, which is really interesting, peel them off. And I think I've got it in here. You can see I peeled this one off, and you can do some sort of project, art project, if you so wish with them. But look at this. I mean, and this is a very bad example, but here's a letter. Can you imagine receiving a letter that's got a beautiful little stamp in the back? It makes the whole thing special. It really does. Now here's another way to do how the wax might come. I have a little tea light. I find that incredibly helpful because the first time I used one of these, I actually held the match underneath, and it was really hard because obviously the match, you know, blows, you have to blow it out. So you in this particular case, you're going to have little pieces of wax, and you can buy them this way. They come in all kinds of different colors, and you're going to put those little pieces inside the cup that you've got going here. And no, you need to know, I am no expert. I am learning. This is a new hobby of mine. But as you get this warm with your tea light, what happens is the wax that's inside starts to melt. And that's what you're after. I used red. Let's see how it's looking. I might have to stand up. We're getting there. All those little pieces have to melt. And it takes a few minutes, obviously. I'm gonna try stirring, and whoa, it gets hot. Don't you love this? This is like what not to do, right? Okay, we're getting there. Okay, I think that's good. I'm gonna blow out my tea light so I don't hurt myself. I'm gonna pour my wax. You can see my wax right here. And I'm gonna use a different symbol this time. Oh my, much more, much bigger. Let it dry, or cool, I should say. It will harden as it cools. Oh, wow. And now you can see I think you can see what this particular symbol looks like. Isn't that beautiful? If you wanted to, now you could cut some of these little edges so that it was nice and perfectly round, if you so wish. But that gives you a little bit of an idea. It's a fun little hobby, isn't it? And like I said, you know, I've got the other samples of what I did to learn from, which is very fun. So more about letters. There are letter subscriptions, just like, you know how there are box subscriptions, as an example. My French Country Home, Sharon Santoni, does a box that comes from France, and there's all kinds of things in the box. They're fabulous, by the way. But there are also letter subscriptions, which are really interesting. It's an interesting hobby. It actually would be an interesting business to start. I thought it was fascinating myself. One that I purchased for years was by Carol Gillot, Gillot. Carol is a New Yorker who moved to Paris, France, years and years ago. I interviewed Carol for another magazine, and it was wonderful. She lives on Ile Saint-Louis, which is one of the two islands in Paris. She's up in the Chambre de Bonne, which is the old maids' quarters of this, beautiful French apartment building. And it was so fun to sit with Carol because on one side of her small apartment is her studio, and all her paints and her papers and her drawing, tablets and whatnot. It's amazing. But anyways, Carol does something called Paris breakfast. And Carol has done that for years and years. I believe you can buy them on Etsy. I will have the link below. I had ordered them for years. They're wonderful. They're like 8.5 by 11 letters. And in the center is handwritten a beautiful update of what's going on in Paris at this time or related to the theme of that particular letter. And her letters go across all different, it's fashion, it's cheese, it's flowers, it's time of year. Carol is incredibly creative. And so truly, you will love those letters. Another that I just found or discovered through another YouTuber is called the flower letters. And the flower letters, and there's a link below, you just go to flowerletters.com. You choose kind of the theme of your letters. So it could be World War II, it could be Regency period. They're coming from England, so it's an English themed letter service. So think of, if you ever saw the movie 84 Charing Cross Road, or you read the book, it's a movie and a book about a bookseller in England, in London, and a bookseller in New York, and how they carried on a pen pal relationship for years and years and years until she finally, the woman in New York, was able to save enough money to go visit London. And it's a beautiful movie. But anyways, that movie, like so many, is really about letters and communication. And not unlike You've Got Mail, which is a very current, not current anymore, but more current than 84 Charing Cross Road. Those emails between the two main characters are really letters in many ways. And so the flower letters is almost like you ordering a series of books because you're stepping into the life of another person who's sending you letters. I'm subscribing. Let's all talk about it. And if any of you sign up in the comments section, I would absolutely love to hear what your thoughts are. I thought it was just a brilliant idea, and I absolutely can't wait to receive my first letter, if you want to know the truth. Now, another letter writing idea, and this is something I have done for years, and that is to write letters to yourself. Write letters to yourself when you're on a trip. You can send yourself a postcard. You can write an actual letter. So as an example, here's one that I sent myself when I was in Paris, and I sent it to the location I was going to be at in Minneapolis for a short period of time. But the letter is really, it allows you to talk to yourself almost like in an advice way. So, for instance, mine starts out by saying, you're in Minnesota and I want to check in with how you are doing. Are you keeping to the plan? Are you taking care of your midlife dreams? And, I go on and on and on. And that can be one aspect of writing a letter from another location. It can also be that you're sitting in a cafe in Italy, as an example, or Paris or London, and you just want to share what the experience was like. I can tell you, when you receive these letters, you start to read what you wrote to yourself, you actually step back into that vacation, whatever that vacation or that holiday was. It's really quite interesting. I have saved mine over the years. They're kind of like a travel journal, if you want to call it that. I think you would absolutely love it. It's truly a keepsake. Now, one thing is that, hobbies we need to think about hobbies in multiple ways. What is it that the hobby actually provides me? Is it something that I love to do? And what's so cool about hobbies is you can leave it if it doesn't. It's like you can go buy a little keyboard from Target or Amazon or whatever to see if you want to take piano lessons. Get a little sewing machine, not an expensive one, the cheapest one you can find, to see if in fact you want to go back to sewing some of your own clothes, or sewing some of your curtains or your drapery, whatever it might be. It gives you a chance to try things out with absolutely no requirement that you stick to it or that you're really good at it. It just has to be something that you really enjoy. Hobbies also keep us from unproductive habits. We all have them. In the book that I'm writing, as you all know, it's called Designing Your Fabulous Next Chapter. It's going to be coming out probably sometime in October or November. There is a whole section on habits and how our habits really determine what kind of lives we live. And because our time is a finite number, right? We can only do what we can do in 24 hours a day. That's all anyone has. Doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, you only have 24 hours. So how do you make the most of the hours that you have? So in the book, I talk about actually doing a time log to see how you're spending your time. Hobbies are great because hobbies are, and I bring it up in the context of doing a time log, because hobbies are very positive. They're not scrolling on the computer. They're not sitting in front of the television set. And, whatever other unproductive things that you find yourself engaged in, you've taken yourself out of them. And truly, when I sit and write in my legacy journal, I'm not as much checking in as to whether or not I'm getting enough time with my children or enough time with my grandchildren. So it's something that takes us from what I call kind of negative thinking into more positive thinking. So try out a few of those. Like I said, all the links are below. I hope to see you again. If you enjoyed this conversation today, please give me a thumbs up. Thumbs up matter on YouTube, as you all know. Subscribe if you haven't already. We are a fast growing community. It has been amazing the last month. I just want to thank all of you that are new subscribers. This is so much fun. And also the comments are incredible. Everyone is commenting, and I read every single one of them. I try to respond to them. And so keep commenting, keep talking, talk about some of your hobby suggestions, because I just gave you 3 or 4 of my outside the box hobbies, that a couple of them I actually learned from someone else. So share yours, because you might have some ideas that some of us have never heard of and we want to jump on. So anyways, take care, everyone. A biento.